Hey, what's up you guys? My name is Tyler Rugge. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I want to share with you 3 pet reptiles that are pretty uncommon and in my opinion, very underrated. And these are also going to be great pet reptiles if you're a beginner, someone who maybe doesn't have a lot of experience keeping reptiles, and you want something that's not going to be very high maintenance, but maybe you also want something that's just not your run-of-the-mill ball python or leopard gecko. You want something a little more unique, something that not everyone else has. In my opinion, they're even in a lot of ways easier, and I like them a lot more than a lot of other much more commonly kept pet reptiles. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. The very first one I want to talk about, which is probably, I'm assuming a lot of you guys are going to think this one's also the most underwhelming one, but that is a mourning gecko. So this is one that I'm sure, if you keep reptiles, if you're familiar, you've probably heard of them, but if you don't, then they're not something that you can just go to PetSmart and get. They're not super common, but they're really wonderful for a lot of reasons. So mourning geckos are a type of micro gecko. They're really tiny, they stay really small, and they're actually parthenogenic, meaning they reproduce asexually. They're all female. They don't need to mate with each other at all in any way. You just need one of them and it'll lay fertile eggs and basically clone itself. They're really unique reptiles for that reason. And what also makes them really desirable is the fact that they stay so small. You do not need a big enclosure. They're wonderful if you just want a little cute terrarium on your desk or something with some cute geckos in there that you can look at and watch. They're also really low maintenance. They're good at room temperature. I would recommend giving them a UVB bulb. Like I said, they're going to be producing eggs when they're mature, and UVB is just going to help make sure that they're at their optimal health. What's also really great about them is as a staple, you can give them Pangea Gecko Diet or Rapashi, which by the way, I sell Gecko Diet on my website, celestialexotics.net, which is my online pet store. Yeah, it's just a diet that has literally everything they need in it, completely nutritionally balanced. The only other thing is I would recommend also including insects in their diet. Unlike a lot of other reptiles that are insectivores and need primarily insects, these ones you can just give them some pinhead crickets or some fruit flies every once in a while. Other than that, they mostly will be eating the gecko diet. So that makes their diet really simple. Now the main con with these geckos is because they stay so small, I think full grown, they're only around 3 inches. They're not really a handleable species. They're very quick and very small, so they won't hesitate to jump off of your hand and run across the floor and up the wall. And you also want to be careful when you're opening their enclosure that you're looking at where they are. I've actually never really had an issue with them trying to dart out of the enclosure as soon as I open it or anything like that. But as long as you make sure they're not close to the door when you're opening it, you should be good. Bottom line is if you want something that's very handleable and hands-on, I probably wouldn't get a mourning gecko. They're not great for that. They're mostly a look, don't touch species. Like I said, if you want a little enclosure with some geckos that are really cute that you can look at, they're perfect for that. The also kind of con, but in my opinion a pro, is the fact that, like I said, they're parthenogenic. So even if you just get one, they're gonna lay fertile eggs. You're gonna have babies, and they're just going to multiply on their own. But if you do end up getting mourning geckos, I would recommend they make these little egg laying tubes for small geckos that you can suction cup to the glass, and they'll crawl in there, and they usually lay their eggs in the tube. And then you just take it out and put it in a little container and let them hatch at room temperature. The reason I would recommend doing this is because I would recommend keeping the babies separate from the adults until they're about the same size. Otherwise, the adults are going to end up picking on the little geckos. But yeah, it's really cool because you can start with one and then you have, before you know it, 20 more. And if you don't want to keep them, you can sell them, and maybe, your side gig will be selling mourning geckos and it'll help you pay for their food or something. I don't know. I love watching them and just observing them. They're really cute little geckos, and if you want something that's really easy and small, they're perfect for that. So the second gecko on my list, and yes, number 3 is a snake. I'm giving you a snake option, but first I want to talk about the other gecko on my list. The second reptile that I would recommend, and this is one that I started keeping very recently, and it's very quickly become one of my favorite species that I have, and that is the Pristerus carteri, also known as the scorpion-tailed gecko. I wanted to grab one of them so I could actually show you me holding them, just so you can see how freaking cool and adorable they are. So this is one of my little scorpion-tailed geckos. I have 2 of them. So scorpion-tailed geckos are wonderful for so many reasons. First of all, just look at them. They're freaking adorable. They're like the cutest little geckos I've ever seen in my entire life. So this is an arid gecko species. So you will want a heat lamp on them and give them a nice basking spot. You will want some UVB on them. And they're insectivores, so they are primarily going to eat like crickets, fruit flies, things like that. Anything as long as it's small enough for them, because they, again, are another gecko species that stays really tiny. So he is not full grown. He is probably almost there though. They really do not get much bigger than this. So what's really cool about these guys, obviously, like I said, they stay small, so they do not need a large enclosure. They are terrestrial, so you want an enclosure with more floor space than height, but they aren't going to need anything really big because of how small they are. Unlike the morning geckos, as you can see, you can actually handle these guys. They're extremely tolerant of handling. As you can see, he's just chilling on me. He does not care. They're just known for being very docile and easygoing. Like, we are just vibing, and that's really it. Now, with any pet reptile, I really don't recommend taking them out all the time and handling them, just because it is stressful for most reptiles. It's best to try to leave them alone as much as possible, but this is a species where if you want to hold them every once in a while, you can, and they'll just chill on you and vibe. They get their name scorpion tail geckos because they have this tail that they stick up and they kind of like wave it around as if it's a scorpion, and that's like them trying to threaten you. Once I actually started keeping them, I realized they have so much personality. What's also really cool about them is you can keep multiple of them together. If you just want a pet and you're not trying to breed them, obviously don't get a male and a female. But another thing I find people are looking for when they're getting a reptile is they want something that they can keep together, and people are like, can I keep bearded dragons together? Can I keep ball pythons together? And it's like, no. Basically, most reptiles aren't going to appreciate being cohabbed, but these guys do completely fine in little groups. You can have females together, you can actually keep males together, and they don't really show aggression towards each other. So because of their handleability, how small they are, and just how easy their care is overall, I think they make wonderful pet geckos. One of my favorite species. I'm very excited to have them, and hopefully I can produce them and then everyone can have one as a pet. So last but not least, for my underrated pet snake that's great for beginners, I recommend that you guys look into house snakes. There are people who breed them. Some of them come in as imports, and you want to obviously probably avoid getting a wild caught one, because especially if you're a beginner, acclimating a wild caught animal into captivity, not the easiest thing to do. But there are people breeding them, and I would definitely recommend a house snake as a great beginner snake species. So as you guys know, I recently visited my friend Garrett over at Reach Out Reptiles, and while I was there, I got a new dwarf retic. Dwarf retics are mainly Garrett's thing, but he also recently got into breeding house snakes. So while I was there, he showed me his house snakes, talked to me all about them, and I filmed it, so I want to share it with you guys because they're really cool. First of all, they come in all different colors and variations. I mean, there's different species and different localities of them, of course. There are these bug-eyed house snakes that you're gonna see where they just have these big bug eyes, and it's not even a defect, like they're supposed to have them. They're just these big kind of bulgy looking eyes, and they look adorable. But again, I'm not the house snake guy, so let's let Garrett take it away, shall we?
These are a really unique type of snake. I am completely in love with these things. They are like not really quite colubrids, you know, but they're probably more like a colubrid than anything else. So this is like an adult, it's actually a decent size adult egg-laying female. There's many species, there's a lot of different localities of them, but it's about corn snake girth at half the length. This is a breedable adult female.
Yeah.
So it's quite a bit smaller than like our corn snakes would be, for example. This would be like a non-albino adult breeder male. He's got a lot of that KZN, KwaZulu-Natal locality in him, so he's really like a deep red. But these ones, you can see he looks, you know, much more like a colubrid. But the females, or any of them as they get like older, they get that really like python head and curiosity. They're very visual. They check everything out. There's other smaller species and stuff. So this is a much smaller species called a Tanzanian stripe house snake. I love these guys with their big buggy eyes and that just that beautiful like white belly and white stripe with that rich coffee brown. I just love that. It's almost like a painted on contrast. But this is an adult proven breeder female. So I mean they're tiny, and then obviously the males are even smaller. We can pull out Moe's here.
And they're supposed to have the bug eyes, right? Like that's normal.
Yes, that is not like a Texas rat snake thing or whatever. Like, oops, tried to make leucistics and I bugged all their eyes out.
Yeah.
No, they just have big eyes. So that's an adult male. They're just little guys.
They're just little.
If you think those were small, look at these baby Tanzanian striped house snakes, rather. I mean, it could curl up and fit inside my wedding ring. Look at that little booger. This is so cute.
So tiny.
So you said you like the bug eyes. You know, there is actually a species of house snake called the bug eye house snake.
Really?
Yeah, most of them are from Namibia, which does not export. It makes them kind of hard to get in. They're not really all that captive bred all that often. Let's see, I have an adult male, a Namibian bug eye house snake with a little blunt head. He actually has probably the least buggy eyes of any bug eye, but you can totally see that weird tree frog head shape. So these are the South African bug eyes. As far as I know, these are the only South African locality bug eyes to ever come into the US. But this is a 2-year-old South African bug eye, and like they just have the most beautiful neon green eyes, tiny little noses.
That's so crazy looking.
They look a micro gecko, but a snake instead.
Yeah.
Look at that little rapid fire tongue.
I love their eyes, and the fact that that's not even a defect, like it's just like supposed to look like that, makes it even better.
These actually, like the eyes get proportionately larger as they grow.
Oh my god.
So if they're this bugged out at 2 years old, I mean, I think it's amazing that that's a 2-year-old.
Yeah,
I mean,
that too. It's tiny. They'd be like the perfect pet snake for so many people because they're adorable and they stay so small.
So check out some of these different color varieties. This would be a hypo green house snake. And so they have that beautiful greenish tint to them. So you can get something like a green one. So this is a baby Cape house snake. It's a hypo blue eye. And you can see kind of like those anaconda spots and everything.
Yeah.
And it's just a very like purpley, bluish, gray. This one I can't even, like, I'll show you guys some secret stuff we got brewing here. Okay. But I can't talk too much. So I won't say anything about this one other than its het.
Wait a minute. You're not supposed to be showing that stuff, man.
Yeah, sorry, Rob. I'm just a teaser. This is just a het. So technically,
what am I gonna do with you?
I know. Technically, this is a recessive mutation, but you can definitely see it in the hets. And all I will say is that it's a pattern mutation. So see how much crazy contrast and white that snake has. I don't think there's pictures of this on the internet or anything yet. So first for you, like a true albino house snake.
That's incredible.
And this strain is named for the business that discovered it. These are Cape house snakes. And the business, the guy that I get all my house snakes from is Warren and Nicole, really, over at Bushveld Reptiles. So this is called a Bushveld albino. They've never been sold to the public yet. And
yeah, that's incredible.
yeah, I mean, they're like glow in the dark. This is a black house snake. I love his green eyes. It's like a black snake with green eyes. You get the black house snakes. These are pretty commonly imported. Really don't recommend getting them as imports. Much better to go captive bred if you can.
So when do you plan on selling them?
Probably never, which is why my wife is like, but you can get them from Bushveld.
Okay.
They've got the good stuff. No, I don't know. I honestly just serial collecting. I actually acquired another massive group of them. Look how serious those little eye stripes look.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like, that's
You know, when their eyes are striped like that and they don't have the round pupils, it's because they're venomous.
Yeah, exactly. Except it's not.
I learned that on the internet.
Good job.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.
So yeah, those were house snakes. If you guys found this video to be helpful, if you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And also leave a comment below if you have any sort of obscure, maybe less commonly kept reptiles that you think make great choices for beginners, because I'm interested in what you guys think, and I'm sure other people are as well. So thank you guys for watching. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button. All my social media links will be down in the description below. And I will see you guys in my next video.